Hello, my name is Carl Surrey and this is a video tutorial for the Facebook group called Fans of Serif Software. And in this tutorial we are going to be taking a third look at a plugin from Google which is called the Nik Collection, which is N-I-K Collection. The first part of these videos was an overall look at the collection and how to find the collection online and download it and install it. Part 2 was looking at the Silver Efex Pro part of that collection, and this, which is part 3, is looking at the Silver Efex Pro part of the collection. Now the image I'm going to be working on here is this one I took of a church in Clacton, and it was taken back in 2012 when I was fairly new to digital photography, and it's not brilliant. It's a bit flat, a bit boring, and overall not that good. So I'm hoping to use this collection to make this a much more interesting picture. Now I'm going to assume that you've already downloaded and installed the Nik Collection, and if you have only just done it, you will find that it is in the effects menu. You come down to plugins, and I've got quite a few plugins, but as you can see here, one is the Nik Collection, and then you have all these different options and filters, and the one we're looking at is the Silver Efex Pro 2. Now before I do click on this, I do want to say that of all the plugins that I've seen, I think the Nik Collection is probably one of the very best ones, if only for the options it gives you. I mean, because some of these, like for example these two I've got from Akivas, they're two separate ones, they're not part of the same one. So you only get in one filter here. This one here you get, there's about 3 or 4 in this one I think. Red filter, again these are all individual one-off filters, but the Nik Collection you get in, was that 8 filters for the price of, well, because it is free, you are getting 8 filters for free, and they are very powerful filters, I think. So I would recommend that you at least try them, even if you never end up using them very often. So I'll click on the Silver Efex Pro, and it will just wait for it to load up. Let me just bring this all onto screen. Hang on. Here we go. Right. Now, like with any of the Nik Collection, you do have some presets down the side which are pretty good in just using in their own right. If you click on one of them, the image will display what it would look like. So you've got a wide choice of options just looking or using the presets down the side here. Now the video that I originally saw this tutorial on was for Photoshop or Elements, and it was in Digital Photo magazine, and they used number 15 because you can see they're numbered, which I said I'm just going to use the same one. So it's number 15, full dynamic harsh, which the chap said was good for buildings and structures and things like that. So this is the one I'm going to use, and if I click compare up here, you can see what it looked like when it just started in Silver Efex Pro, and what that effect has already had just by using that preset. So technically you could just stop there because it is much more dynamic than it started out in the first place. But we're now going to have a look at the options down the right hand side where you have a bit more control over the effect that this preset has already given us. Now at the top part of this right hand side we have global adjustments, which is brightness, contrast and structure. Now these settings are what you got from clicking on this particular one, because if I go back, because that's like 0, 34, 0. If I click on that one, it was 0, 0, 0. So as these were the presets for this option, I'm not going to alter the global adjustments, but I will make a selective adjustment. Now you can get these, let's break this down a bit. The next part of this then is selective adjustments. So if you click on this round circle button here and then come over, you get a sort of bullseye target cursor, and you want to place this over an area where you want to make a selective adjustment. Now I'm going to do it to, you can do it anywhere really, the building, the skies, the greenery, but I'm going to be clicking on the building as I want to highlight that a bit more. And when you click on that, it gives you these 4 little slider bars here. The top one, if you just click on the white button here, it gives you a little slider and you can move it left and right, so you can alter how wide you want the effect to happen to. Now as I want this to affect the building, I'm going to try to encompass as much of the building as possible, and the effects should really only affect pixels of a similar colour. So although that circle that I made went outside the building, it shouldn't affect that area so much because they're not of a similar type, colour or whatever. So then you have the 3 same options that you had up with the global adjustments, which is brightness, contrast and structure. So here you have brightness, contrast and structure. So if you click on the button at the end of brightness, it gives you the slider so you can make it brighter or darker. And as hopefully you can see, it's not really affecting the sky so much. I mean, it will have some effect, but not as much. It was mainly be restricted to the building or the point where you clicked. So I'll then just alter the contrast, slide it left and right. So if I come a bit more to the right, you have a bit more detail in the building. And then lastly we've got the structure one, which is sort of like sharpening, I think, because if you bring it to the right, those bricks in the building become much sharper. If I go to the left, they're much flatter. So I will come to the right. Now below these 3 options, you may just be able to see that there's a little arrow pointing down. If you click on that, it gives you some more options. The first one being amplify the whites, amplify blacks, fine structure and selective colorization. So again, if you click on the end of this, you can highlight the whites in that area or drop the whites down a bit. So this obviously does the same with the blacks. The fine structure, I really can't see any difference. I'm guessing it's making a difference, but I really can't see it, so I don't really alter that one so much. And selective colouring is it can bring back some of the colour in that area. So if you wanted to sort of colour pop an area, you could use this. So like the sky and pretty much surrounding areas are still black and white, but you have brought some colour back into the building. I'll just drop this back slightly. So that is those options available to you there, but you don't have to just use one control point. You could, come on, You could put another one in the sky, for example. And then make the sky a lot moodier. So we'll leave that there. So again, if you click on compare, that was how it started when I opened up the Nik Collection, and that is what it looks like now. So I hope you can see that's much more dramatic than when we started. Right, the next part in the different options available is a color filter. Now it should already be on this first filter here, which is like the neutral, I think. And if you just click on the different filters, some will have a lot of effect and some will not have much at all. I think the blue one probably has the most effect. If I go back to the start one, the blue one just sort of tones down some of those colours. And on this particular picture, the others don't have too much effect, but I hope you did see the differences. Right, next option is film types. Now, back in the day when there wasn't digital photos and you use film in your cameras, different film stocks gave you different results. So if you click on this downward button, you'll get the menu. So by default it's neutral, but if you go to just hover over each one of these different film stocks, you can see the different effects you could have got with these different film stocks. Now, I personally probably wouldn't use any of these, but it's not bad known that they are there and available. So I'll go back to neutral. You can then alter the grain per pixels, because at the moment it's on 500. If I drop this down to 1 and 0, that has become very grainy indeed. So I'll put this back to 500, and then when I did a test on this, moving this to soft or hard didn't make that much difference. Well, when it was set on 500 anyway. I've not tested it. Set on, let's bring this down just to test it. Down to there, make it grainier. Yes, I'm guessing it is making a bit of difference, but not a vast amount. So I'll put it back to where they were. And then we have sensitivity, where you have a bit of control over the different colours. Now obviously the main colour I've got available here is yellow. So I'll just move the yellow slider left and right. And you can probably notice it more in these street bollards here, because at the moment the middle of those bollards are sort of much darker, and then if I move it to the other side they become whiter. And I'll put it back into the middle, they blend in a bit better and then less noticeable. But you could alter the other colours as well, because there's not a vast amount of difference altering the green. But depending on your image, you can have a little tinker with the colours. The next option is levels and curves. Now I'm not going to move this. I mean, most people would know what levels and curves can do, and if you don't know, there is a video available that I made that had a quick look at this, I think. Right, the next one is finishing adjustments. Now toning, set on 1. If you click the downward arrow, gives you a whole different options, and if you just put your cursor over any of these, you don't have to click, you just hover it over and it will show you what that toning effect will give you. So we've got on the coffee effects, and then down here we've got sepia, and there's a whole host of others. You can go for amber type, which makes it a bit more golden. So I'll just put it back to 1. Next option is vignette. Again, this is off. If you click the downward arrow and then just hover over any of these, it will show you what the different vignettes would look like. So you've got a couple of white vignettes, black vignettes, and lens fall offs, whatever they mean. So I'm just going to go for the black frame, just to sort of darken up the edges. You can alter the amount that encroaches onto the image there, and you can alter the whether it's a rectangle or a circle and the size of it. I'm going to leave, I'll leave it like that, I think. Right, the last couple here is burnt edges and image borders. Now, both of these are off by default, but again, you can just hover over and it will show you the difference that those different options make. I'll just go with all edges 1, and this last one just gives you different frames around the picture. So as you can see, there's different. That's just a basic white one, and then you have some with black edges or frayed edges, just to give you a different effect. I quite like number 11. And then once you've made all your adjustments, you just need to click OK, and it will change that picture. It's a much more dramatic picture now than it ever it started out, and personally I think that's quite good. And all I need to do now is save that image, and I'm quite happy with that now. And I hope you think it's much better, and I hope you try the Nik Collection and try the filter, the Silver Efex Pro. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.